The moment started like any other Monday morning, with the hum of the office and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. But for Tanya, a hardworking black woman who had spent years proving herself, this morning would turn into a nightmare she'd never forget. One careless gesture, one hot cup of coffee tossed her way by her boss, left her in shock and burning, not just physically but with anger she could no longer contain. In those first few seconds, as the scalding liquid splashed across her arm, every frustration, every injustice she had endured at work came rushing back. Tanya's eyes scanned the room, filled with colleagues and managers who had ignored her hard work, taken credit for her ideas, or dismissed her entirely. And in that instant, something inside her shifted. The hurt and humiliation transformed into clarity, into a fierce determination that would change everything in the office. What she did next shocked everyone present and sent ripples through the company. Hierarchy. As the smoke of tension filled the room, Tanya made a choice that would alter her career and the fate of everyone above her forever. But how did a single moment of pain ignite a decision that no one saw coming? The answer will leave you on the edge of your seat. Tanya had always been the kind of employee who went above and beyond, quietly handling tasks that others avoided, staying late to fix problems no one noticed, and always keeping her head down. She had endured microaggressions, ignored suggestions, and watched her ideas get stolen by managers who were supposed to mentor her. Every meeting, every project, every little slight had piled up, but she had kept her composure for years. Her boss, the one who had just burned her with coffee, had a history of reckless behavior. He thought he was untouchable, surrounded by a team of managers who covered his mistakes and ignored the staff's complaints. The office, once a place of ambition and collaboration, had become a maze of favoritism and frustration. Colleagues whispered about resignations and lawsuits, but no one had dared to confront the management, until now. As Tanya stood there, her arms stinging, she felt a strange calm wash over her. She realized this wasn't just about the coffee. It was about every unfair raise denied, every idea dismissed, every insult ignored. Something had broken inside her, and it was dangerous because when Tanya decided to act, no one in the chain of command would see it coming. The tension in the room thickened, and every eye turned to her, waiting for the first move that would change everything. The office fell silent, the hum of computers and chatter replaced by the sharp tension in the air. Tanya's colleagues exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to step in or stay frozen in their seats. Some remembered how often she had been overlooked, how her ideas had been credited to others, and they felt a mix of guilt and fear. Others wondered what would happen next, because everyone knew that once Tanya decided to act, she didn't hold back. Meanwhile, the managers above her boss began whispering hurriedly, checking their emails, scanning the office for damage control. They had built walls of influence over the years, relying on hierarchy and intimidation. But Tanya's fiery resolve was cracking that structure from within. From across the room, a junior assistant watched quietly, hoping Tanya's stand might spark a change but also terrified of the fallout. Tanya felt her pulse quicken, thinking not just about the immediate injustice, but about the systemic culture of favoritism and negligence that had allowed her boss to act with impunity. Every manager above him had turned a blind eye at some point, and now, she realized, the only way forward was to confront the chain of command itself. The question wasn't whether she would act, it was how far she would go, and what consequences would follow. Each passing second stretched the tension tighter, leaving the office on edge, waiting for her first decisive move. The office felt smaller now, every corner charged with anticipation. Tanya's arm throbbed from the coffee burn, but the pain only sharpened her focus. Her boss, realizing for the first time that his recklessness might have consequences, tried to smooth over the moment with a nervous laugh, but it came out hollow. The managers above him shifted in their seats, their confident facades beginning to crumble as the realization set in. This wasn't a minor incident, and Tanya wasn't backing down. Whispers floated through the room, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. Colleagues who had long endured favoritism and neglect watched, their own anxieties mingling with hope. Could someone finally challenge the system that had allowed abuse to thrive? Tanya's gaze swept the room, locking briefly with each manager above her boss. She could see the cracks in their composure, the subtle panic behind polished masks. Every second stretched endlessly. Emails pinged, phones vibrated, but nobody moved to intervene. Tanya's heartbeat echoed in her ears as she rehearsed what she would say, what she would demand, and the power she had gathered quietly over years of dedication. The office seemed to hold its breath with her, aware that the next few moments would decide everything. And then, with a controlled yet fierce calm, Tanya finally began to speak, her words slicing through the tension like fire. Just as Tanya's voice began to cut through the tension, a sudden alert on the office projector froze everyone in place. A company-wide memo flashed across the screen, revealing that upper management had been under investigation for months, something no one had anticipated. The investigation exposed financial mismanagement, favoritism, and multiple complaints that had been buried. Tanya's revelation about her boss was no longer just personal. It tied into a much larger system of corruption, and now the stakes were higher than anyone had imagined. The managers above her boss exchanged panicked looks. Some tried to deny the allegations, while others frantically searched for a scapegoat. Tanya realized she wasn't just confronting one reckless leader. Anymore, she was standing against a web of deceit that had gone unnoticed for years. Colleagues who had been on the sidelines now leaned in, sensing that the office's hierarchy could crumble at any moment. Tanya's mind raced. Her coffee, burn, the humiliation, all of it was now fuel for something bigger. The power dynamics were shifting, and the tension in the room was unbearable. Every eye was on her, waiting to see what she would do next. Would she take control of the moment, or would the unfolding scandal spiral beyond her grasp? The answer hung in the air, leaving everyone on edge. Teetering on the brink of chaos, Tanya took a slow, steady breath, feeling the weight of every eye on her. She stepped forward, her voice strong and unwavering. She laid out the full truth: her boss's reckless behavior, the cover-ups by managers above him, and the years of ignored complaints. One by one, she named names, detailing the patterns of negligence and favoritism that had allowed the office to become a toxic environment. The room was silent except for the hum of the projector, each word landing like a hammer dot. By the time she finished, the upper management team looked shell-shocked. HR, who had been secretly observing the escalation, stepped in immediately. Within minutes, decisions were made. The boss and all complicit managers were suspended pending investigation. Tanya's courage had shifted the balance of power, turning a moment of personal injustice into a reckoning for the entire company. Just as the office began to absorb the shock, a new email pinged on Tanya's computer. It wasn't from HR or legal, it was from the CEO, someone no one expected to intervene. The message revealed that the company had been under covert scrutiny by an external audit, and Tanya's actions had accelerated a full-scale internal overhaul. The twist left everyone stunned. Her single act of defiance didn't just expose the office hierarchy, it set off a chain of events that could change the entire company forever. Tanya, once overlooked and underestimated, had become the catalyst for something far bigger than anyone had imagined. In the days that followed, the office transformed. The suspended managers were replaced, policies were rewritten, and HR implemented new systems to ensure fairness and accountability. Tanya, once just another employee overlooked in the background, was recognized for her courage and leadership. Colleagues who had previously stayed silent began speaking up, inspired by her determination to stand against injustice. The culture of favoritism and neglect that had once held the office hostage began to crumble, replaced with transparency and respect. Tanya herself reflected on the journey. What began as a painful moment, a hot cup of coffee thrown carelessly, had sparked a turning point in her life and the lives of those around her. She realized that courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. Her story became a reminder that standing up for yourself can create change far beyond what you imagined, even in environments that feel powerless. As the office settled into a new rhythm, Tanya continued her work with renewed purpose, knowing she had not only defended her dignity but also paved the way for others to be heard. The fire that once burned her had transformed into a force that reshaped her workplace and left a lasting mark on everyone who witnessed it.